How would you like to make your first million? And today we have Justin Kuyper with us, and he is the founder of OpenVest, which is bringing a hedge fund investment to the normal people, something that sounds really complex, but somehow they manage to achieve it. So, Justin, tell us, what are the 5 steps that you recommend entrepreneurs in order to make the first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Yes. So the first step is to basically earn your edge. So what that means is, why should somebody pick you? What domain insight, what unique access, what skill set do you have that is going to get you from 0 to 1? Basically, what is going to separate you in the market? There are a lot of competitors that go into the same spaces and they do the same version of the same thing and they just describe it in a slightly different way. But how are you really different, right? In terms of value proposition, in terms of what you're creating. And then, yeah, so that I would say is the first step. The next step would be validate your idea with either real money or time. So what that means is, before scaling, get somebody to pay you, even if it's one customer, get them to pay you for what you have built. I think that's another key test. So before you start throwing lots of money into the idea because, oh, I think it's a good idea, it's not about what you think, it's about what the customers think. And so that would be my second point on that front. The third one is to build a product with real constraints. So meaning, like, an MVP does not mean it's a bad product. What it means is that you have to build something that is constrained, meaning, let's say you cannot pay for the expensive tools today. That doesn't matter. It's just, can you build the simple version of it and get someone to pay you even a small amount for that? That would be the third point I would bring up. A lot of entrepreneurs make the mistake of just keep spending, keep spending. That's not the way to do it. 4 is ship fast and talk to users fast. So velocity and speed matters much more than the polish of the product, even if there are small little things that are not perfect, like in the platform or in the app or in whatever the user is building. Even if it's for B2B, don't worry about that as much. Just make sure the core functionality is working, and then just keep iterating quickly. The speed of iteration is actually what I think separates most entrepreneurs in the world from, meaning the sort of the best from the rest, is just how quickly you iterate. So that would be the 4th step. And then the last one is basically nailing one channel. So what I've seen is a lot of early stage entrepreneurs, they think of an idea and they think, I'm going to expand it now and go into 5 different industries. Let's try healthcare, let's try finance, let's try, everything, and let's do it all at once. No, you do one industry, one segment, get that nailed first, then you figure out how to scale. And what you'll actually find is that scaling part and getting into other industries is not as difficult as you think. It's actually the first step that is the challenge that you have to overcome. So those are the 5 key steps that sort of I would give to any entrepreneur, anybody thinking about, carving into a market, whether it's big, small, medium-sized, or the like.
How differentiate yourself into a marketplace? And I think this is something that you have achieved with your company, which I'm actually very curious because, Justin, there's a lot of hedge funds out there that you can make a lot of money and doing what you do. And so why you decided to bring this approach to more a retailer type of investor, where you can find different challenges because they need to be educated. Yeah, they're gonna come with less money, but they don't understand as much as, I don't know, institutional investors or investors that have more understanding of risk and returns, and also the amount of money, because doing this, you will acquire your clients B2C, so sorry, direct to consumer. as B2C, and we all know that acquiring the clients direct to consumer is a really expensive exercise, especially having a business starting up. So why you choose this differentiation, and what are the challenges, the biggest challenges that you have faced?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So I think let me break it down into a few pieces. So the first thing we noticed was that one, this is a market that was sort of so reserved for the very high net worth and kind of left everyone out. So we noticed a huge gap, right? I had experience prior working in New York at sort of in the financial world. So I got a lot of the understanding and the knowledge from doing that for a few years. So after that point, but what I noticed was that there is demand for these products. It's just that there's sort of a between what users get access to and what is actually available to them. So what we basically did, it took a bit of tech knowledge, legal knowledge, and financial knowledge to build this type of platform. So what I'll say is we're currently live in 10 US states, and then we'll be
Wow.
expanding internationally to India very, very soon as well. So that's in
Wow, to
process.
India is a big market.
Yeah, but
My
what we've
goodness.
noticed, yeah. We're planning to scale, like, yeah, go as big as we can. But what I'll say is we know there's demand for this. People know what these funds are. So I'll just say it's a mix of like hedge funds and private equity. Basically, what you would get in those top tier funds, we've really given you the same performance, but at a much lower cost. So that is the key differentiator, is like nobody's figured
Justin,
out
it's
how to
amazing,
do
right?
that. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
amazing because, if you don't have too much money, you can diversify your portfolio a lot, right?
Correct, correct. Anybody with as little as $300, and at least for now, who's currently active in one of the 10 states, but we also have a wait list on our website. So if users are interested in this, I suggest going there, clicking on get access soon. It should be in the links. We'll provide that after, but they can
Absolutely.
register, and then we'll let them know when we're live in their respective countries and cities. And yeah, but what I'll say is people know what these are and they want access. They just don't know how to get it. So basically, what we've done is we've abstracted the complexity away from it. And so obviously, that takes a lot of infrastructure build. It takes a lot of build on the back end. It takes a lot of building on the front end, making sure everything is
It's
syncing
easy to
appropriately.
understand, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's easy to use, but it took a lot of work to get there. Like, if I'm being honest with you, just getting all the regulatory licenses, doing all
Oh
the
my
work
God.
to make
Them.
sure that this,
Oh
yeah.
God.
So we're SE registered, and
Oh
then
wow, that's amazing.
yeah,
Because the
yeah,
licensing and the
yes,
lawyers, that's expensive.
yeah,
I know that
yeah,
because
and
I've
then
done it in London,
yeah,
in United Kingdom, and oh my God,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
long and
exactly.
expensive.
And then we have a infrastructure partner who's also basically helped us and sees what we're building, and so they've agreed to come in partnership with us. So what I will say is, yeah, like I said, we are live in 10 states currently. In the US, and then we'll be expand. So Florida is one of them where, and then yeah,
Yay,
but
amazing.
all yeah, so we're live on the App Store and the
Oh
Google Play
wow.
Store. So any individual that, as long as they have a residential address in the US, they can sign up and set up their account and get going. But to answer your question, yeah, you're saying it is a very competitive space, but what we've noticed is that the other competitors in our space, they're focused on providing you the same standard ETF or index or something of the sort, and then they're taking a fee on top of that, a percentage usually of the assets that are brought on their platform. And so we just looked at that model and was like, this pricing dynamic just doesn't work. Like, we're trying to give more value to the user, not less, because what we've noticed with our existing users so far is that they've all come back and either put in more money or they've told others about it. And so we do have some strong, meaning
100%.
network effects now that are going. And so I think the key thing is that we're coming at this from a completely different angle, and that has helped us at least carve out our niche in the business so far. So yeah, hopefully
But in
that
the
gives a little.
clients, in the direct to consumer space, like I shared before, is very
Yeah,
exercise. But if you offer a lot of value to the clients, they will pay you more,
correct.
and then
There,
a lot of people just in business, a lot of people or entrepreneurs, we challenge that entrepreneurs spend 80% of the resources, time, money, energy in marketing strategies to bring strangers to the business. And then
Mhm.
they do very poor job, only 20% of the resources in enhancing that the experience this user is gonna have, and customer appreciation, and make sure that there is no friction and they are happy with the
Right.
service, without knowing that if you do this part effectively, you can have a client, and you need to do it anyway, because you need to
Yeah.
try. If you don't treat the clients amazing, you don't give them
Yeah.
excellent experience, they're not gonna
If you're not
you're
exactly.
not gonna be in business for longer, especially if you're starting up. And then why do you think that most entrepreneurs take all the time, money, energy, and if they look for funding, they will use it, most of the money, to get new strangers to the business? Where I think that the approach that you guys have, I am in love with it, and I support you 100%, because
Yeah.
if you nurture the relationship with those existing clients, that they are the first clients, they're gonna bring you more, and eventually. So the question is this one: if I give you $100, Justin, how
Huh.
much money do you use in your business? It's just an analogy, just so people understand. If I give you $100, out of this $100, how much money do you use to take new people to your business, and how much of this money you will use in order to enhance and develop the relationship with the existing clients, so that can open the door for referrals, which is actually free? How you divide this
Correct.
budget?
Correct. So what I'll say is that we have not this platform without taking we have not taken investor money yet. I have
Oh,
we
wow.
have who have committed capital, meaning it's just if I'm ready to raise this round that we're currently in the process of raising, I can make a phone call to, meaning a few people who've already said I'm basically they're betting on me, not the, just they,
I
and
can tell.
I can do that. But what I will say is that we have not spent a dollar on marketing yet. So we
Wow, that's
launched, I think
amazing. Very impressive.
about about 6 weeks back, and what we're trying to get is the natural referral effect, as you mentioned, because it doesn't cost any money yet. Obviously, there will be a plan to market, but we're trying to make sure that there's some natural network effects before we spend a dollar on marketing, right? Because even in the marketing side, you have to look at the what's called the return on ad spend, right? So for every dollar you're spending, how much are
Mm-hmm.
you getting back in revenue,
And
right?
it's expensive,
Uh,
especially in this market.
yes, yes. So right, and that's why I recommend every entrepreneur to start with that approach. There are entrepreneurs that happen to have certain investor networks or VC networks, and they raise the money first and then try to build the business. But show me one example where that has worked, like
Dangerous,
meaning 10,
very
15
risky.
years from that point. Yeah, that's not the way to do it. If you have the product built and you've proven product market fit early on, then you can raise. And honestly, I don't even think you have to focus on the raise, because if you're doing that anyways, the investors will find you. So it's like you don't
Yeah.
have to think
They will
about
find
that.
you faster than you look that you find
Yeah,
them, right?
exactly. So that shouldn't be the focus. That's another mistake I've seen from a lot of entrepreneurs. Let me go talk to this investor and convince them to put money. It's like, no, just show them the working product and the fact that you're already getting users. That will interest them much more, much,
Justin,
much more.
we already interviewed 500 millionaires in this podcast on Unstoppable. 1 out of 5 are tech entrepreneurs, tech
Uh,
multimillionaires. So why do you think that is a big chance, if you know what you're doing, which you clearly know what you're doing? Why do you think that tech uh, is one of the most powerful, or that having the businesses is one of the most powerful vehicles out there in order to grow a multi-million-dollar business and have an exit for a lot of money? But the one that you share with us, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because it could be our listeners. It doesn't matter
yeah.
what I say in this podcast. Everybody's listening. They say, okay, you know what? This is easy math. 1 out of 5 are tech entrepreneurs. They are multimillionaires. They having exits. They bid in a startup that's gonna get valuated in millions. You know what? Forget it. I'm gonna do my tech business without knowing what they're getting into, and they're gonna pick a wrong model, like I described you. You know, start to took the money, raise finance
Yeah,
without doing any, without knowing what they're doing, and the rate on the space. I have a lot of tech companies to grow. The rate of failing in the tech space is huge. Nobody talk about it.
very high. Yeah.
So, can you share the good, the bad, or the ugly of having a tech business?
Yes. So that's a very good question. So I think the one thing that, especially in sort of tech or software, the advantage of it and the reason why when it's working, it really works is that it abstracts the costs away from what would have been a manufacturing business or an industrial business, right? Like before, when we were in the Industrial Revolution, you had to build certain physical materials to get things up and running. The cost of creating a software product or a tech service or anything of that sort has come down dramatically, right?
Yeah, with
So there's
AI,
been
even less now.
Yes, yes. So it's an inherent cost advantage to building it. Now, if you can build it, that is one step. But the other step, as we've touched on a little bit, is getting the users. So if you can get the users and your revenue is going up like this and your costs are either staying flat or going down, then that's what creates the wider gap. And that's what people are willing to pay for. So that's the sort of the good, the tech. Now, that being said, uh, tech is sort of an all-consuming
The valuation also. They
the
they
valuation,
they
yeah.
high valuation compared with other traditional business, right?
Yes, correct, correct. So the multiples are higher typically. The as long as you have the ARR or the recurring revenues and you're going at a decent clip, anything north of 20%, you can expect at least a multiple of somewhere around let's say
But online
between
you can make a lot
15.
of money. So what's the danger?
Yes.
What's the danger?
Yes. The danger is that it's all consuming and that it has to work well. So that means that whenever a bug happens, whenever something goes wrong or something's not working properly, you have to fix it very, very quickly. So it goes back to that iterating speed that I was talking
Customer
about. I
experience.
think that is the key. And so if you can keep your customers happy while they're using your platform or your service, then you will keep them, and then that's how you can get the growth. But if you don't do that, so basically this comes down to being consistent, being disciplined, being on top of it. This is also something that when you look at a large group of people, not everybody's sort of built in that same mindset. So you can't just build a tech product and then say, "Oh, I'm done. I'm going to leave it," and that kind of thing. That's not how it's going to work. And maybe in other physical manufacturing businesses, it's just kind of the same process every time. In tech, sometimes new mistakes will happen and you don't know why it's happening. So then you have to go talk to your team and figure it out yourself. And then also look into why is this happening? How do we prevent this from happening in the future? So it's like solving a puzzle and it's a constantly iterating puzzle is the way I would like to frame it.
Jyoti, but you have a brilliant corporate career, and I'm sure that in New York they will pay you a lot of money for you to have a very comfortable life. Why you
Mm.
decided to throw this away to start your own business? Did anyone told you that you crazy? That maybe you
Of
taking
course.
too much risk? That what you doing? And also, Justin, as you know, you are in corporate, and because you are in corporate, you have a lot of money pay you, you have a holiday, you have your description very clean. Okay, this is what you have to do. Somebody come to you, Justin, do that. You say, I'm sorry, this is not my job. Still, they're paying you a lot of money for what you're doing. And you decide to throw this away to start your journey as an entrepreneur, which is you cannot tell, especially you're the CEO, that something is not your job. Basically, everything is your job.
Mm.
And what do you have for people listening this broadcast that want to do this transition from corporate to entrepreneur? Still, they don't find the courage. They are trapped in this golden cage, and they want to make that jump because number one, you have family, friends. Number one, everybody will tell you crazy, and then when you start, you will realize that actually they were right. There is a crazy thing to do. So tell us about this transition. Where do you find the courage, and were you aware about the huge risk that you taking, and what the good, the bad, and the ugly of this transition?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. I think initially there's this idea, a regret minimization framework. If you think like I thought about in terms of a longer term perspective. So I was like, where do I want to be 20, 30, 40 years from now, right? If I look back on my life, will I have regretted not taking a chance on starting a business and creating something of tremendous value? So that was one part of it. The second part was the idea for this sort of obviously came about from, just being exposed to the industry, having different, certain educational backgrounds, understanding how these things actually work. Uh, we did know that this is a very, very, very large market. So even if we didn't sort of take even if we didn't, let's say, execute on the level that, I mean, we're pretty ambitious and we're trying to push forward, but even if we didn't succeed at the level that we wanted, we could still have a successful outcome. So we thought of that as sort of a risk management perspective. So we were like, okay, if we looked at the base case, the best case, the worst case, what is the worst outcome? And we thought even in the worst scenario, it was still worth doing. So that was another thing. So you have to think about, I would always encourage people who are trying to think about starting a business, think about it in terms of base, best, and worst case scenarios. What's the worst that can happen? The other thing is if you don't try, you'll never know, right? So like that's the ultimate thing. Like, I mean, if you one thing I'll say is like I was also in a position where I don't have a family, I don't have commitments yet. So I was like, it's worth doing, especially now, before you have those things, because at that point it becomes much more difficult. The bar is much higher. Because you have responsibilities, you have things to look after. So if you're going to do this type of thing, and you don't have sort of those responsibilities yet, I would say do it while you're younger and then sort of take advantage of that time frame. Because even if you fail completely, you still learn something from that process,
You
right?
always can come back to corporate, yeah.
You can always go back to
Maybe you
corporate, but
come
you'll
back
be
as a
better.
consultant. They will pay you even more,
Yeah,
right?
but you'll more. So you'll be more valuable, even in the
Mm-hmm.
case where you failed, because you'll know
Mm-hmm.
what doesn't work, and that's
Oh
also
yeah,
a valuable thing to know. So,
yeah.
so that would be my advice, at least, yeah, on that front.
No, Justin, the starting a tech business. Okay, you coming from a finance background, and like I said, I spend a lot of time with the tech community, and the process that you describe is just perfect. It's like you growing money exactly in the right way of doing it, which is something really strange because the normal tech founder, they someone that, okay, sometimes they have a technical background and they get in love with the product, they start to develop this product and to put a lot of time, money, and energy to creating this software that is going to change the world. And after they this big elephant, they haven't asked to any single person yet if they're gonna buy it and what form they're gonna buy it and how much they're willing to pay for it. And now they have this big elephant, and then they go out there to try to look for a VC for funding to try to set this elephant in the price that they want. And it's almost impossible to find funding. They're frustrated. They come to me, Harry, help me. I say, how can I help you? If you guys already lose all your time, money, energy, and effort in the wrong thing, because I get it, you're passionate about writing code and you're all engineers, but this is not how business work. And
Yeah.
that dynamic doesn't work. I learned this in the hard way, Justin, when I started my first property business, managed to sell for 5 million. And the first room that I want to rent it, yeah, I showed to one guy. I said, look, do you want this room? And he said, no, look, it's a bit dirty, need some painting. No, I'm not taking the room. So the guy left, and I went directly to the to the sell the paint and said to the guy, listen, I need to paint a room, and I never paint in my life. Can you give me this? The guy, Harry, I already know that you never painted in your life because the thing that you're asking, you don't have any clue. This is why paint, go and paint it, you will be fine. So I paint the room, the window, the floor myself. It was a total mess, but I managed the whole night no sleeping because people think that painting a room is easy. It's not if you don't know have any clue. You can take you the whole night. So the whole night I finally finished. Okay, Next day, I have a second viewing. It's a girl. So a girl opened the door and said, look, do you like the room? And the girl said, yeah, I like it. It's clean, but it's a little bit cold. Live in London. So yeah, it's white, but there is nothing warm. She's no, I don't want it. So the girl left, and I went directly to IKEA and said, okay, you want warm? I'll give you warm. So I bought these. They said they're pink, orange, and red. Yeah, put it on top of the bed. I buy a painting, this black and white with a little bit of red also, and I put a vase of flower. I think I pay £1 in the Chinese shop or whatever. And then the girl come and said, look, this is the room. Do you want to take it? And the girl say, yes, I take it. And that was history 18 years ago, yeah, when I started my first business. So online, Justin, is not what you want to do. The client, it will polish your product. Out of the 500 million that I interviewed in this podcast, no one already have told me, Harry, guess what? I designed the product like that, and exactly how I envisioned it, the client bought it like this to the price that I wanted. No one yet. I'm still waiting for the story. Nobody yet had come. I don't think they will never come, right? So it's about that client will polish your product. They will tell you how much they want to pay and what form they want the product. So it's about listening to them. They will shape, they will finalize your product. You have an MVP, a minimum viable product, but it's the client. So you have to be very good to your client. You have to listen to the client a lot. And this is a path, Justin, that you are following, spectacular, I had to say, and very impressed by how you're doing this, because it's rare to find in the startup founders. You tell me why you behaving different than the normal people in tech out there that they're failing. Where do you learn this? Because you came from corporate, you couldn't. Where do you learn this? Because
so I mean, I worked in corporate for not more than 3 years. So I mean, I always had an entrepreneurial mind. So I think that's part of it. But what I will say is so you brought up the idea of like people, meaning they're writing the code and then they just take the VC money. VC money comes at a cost, right? And so this is another point that I think a lot of entrepreneurs need to think about. When you give the VC, meaning if they're giving you money, the other question is how much of the business are they controlling, right? So even if you take the examples of the big tech companies, there's always a control issue that comes into play at some point during their journey, and any business, whether you're big or small or medium size. So yeah, the VC money, it's like how much equity are you giving up for that VC money? The one thing is you always want to make sure the minute you lose control because there are too many other investors, and meaning even if your business is well capitalized now, if you lose control, the company, it is very, very rare. I don't think I've seen an example yet where that business has taken off where the founder has less than a majority controlling stake. And even if you look in the public markets, founder-led companies get higher returns on average relative to companies that have just swapped in a CEO. So that's another piece of it. So, but the reason, anyway, back to your main point is like, why are we doing it this way? Because like we see the market size and we see what we're building and we're seeing it work now, meaning we're, in the US to start, but we'll have plans to come to Europe and all those things. But once we dial in on what's working, it's just a matter of replicating it, right? And so if we do it this way, we get to maintain our control, we get to shape the company and keep it customer centric, which is ultimately our goal. So sometimes a VC comes in, they say, okay, let's raise the prices. Okay, let's make sure the user gets less for their money. And it's just, that's not what we're about. So I think that's a very important distinction and something to think about. So every VC that comes to us, even now, we ask them as many questions as they ask us. So it's a two-way conversation, not a one-way.
And then you see, I think good business for you will be those one that invested in Amazon, which is a platform that is very customer centric. So they know, and they understand, they align with your values. I think it's not about taking any money out there. It's how to align the values and the vision of the company. So yeah, investors that invest in Amazon, which is very customer centric platform.
Yeah.
Which is, by the way, is one of the what the most high valuation in the planet, that company, right? So the model of customer centric is a model, right? It's more kind of sustainable in the long term. And this is actually one of the things that I like about Amazon is this one, right? That people see, oh, Amazon, everybody knows about Amazon. And what nobody knows is that they were exactly like this when they in the policy they were customer centric. And
Yeah.
probably now you know Amazon, but probably you find out about Amazon not because you searched it in Google. You just needed something, and a friend told you, "Look, you want to buy this thing, man? Buy in
Yeah.
Amazon. It's amazing. You know,
Yeah.
you get it straight in the
Don't.
door. If you don't like it, you return it. Nobody is the process is amazing. You went to Google and you find Amazon, and that's how most of the people knew about Amazon. You just don't even remember that was the process, but exactly how it happens. So the more value you give to your
Exactly.
clients, the powers of the referrals is unbelievable. Justin,
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
you talk about in the marketplace, and we talk about barrier to entry and pro market fit. How frustrating? I'm not gonna use frustrating, yeah, because this is not the right word to call it to this process. But in the process from 0 to 1, again, you design an MVP and you think that the client wants this in this form, and then after you put it out there, oh my god, they don't want that, we need to come back. And then something that you're a finance guy, or something that's very basic for you, and you assume that was basic, you put for your retail clients there, they don't understand, and now you need to come back and say, look, what happened with these people, why they don't understand, and then you have to iterate again or iterate again. So founders out there that there are tech founders that are in this process of 0 to 1 pro market fit, that they are tired, they are upset, they are angry, they are frustrated, they put in so much money without understanding that this is pro market fit is like a marathon that is not like 100 meters run, and sometimes you can get there faster or maybe can take you longer. And there is always this is something that it had to work because it's a creative process. And also when it works, you leave it like this and you keep it tight, because some people also they don't know when to stop, and then they keep iterating, and then product works. Yeah, this I done
Yeah.
myself.
Mm.
I learned a big lesson the hard way. When something is working, keep it tight. Because create to keep creating, and then you product works that was before. So, Justin,
Exactly.
tell us about this process, product market fit, and what advice do you have for the tech startup founder out there?
Yeah. So for anyone going from 0 to 1, like you said, if they're in that situation where they need the customer feedback, and meaning iterating, and then it's still, what I would do is always break things down into simple steps. So for example, let's just take an example. If somebody's signing up for your platform and they're having a hard time because they don't understand how the sign up flow is working, obviously that's something you need to go sit down with them, ask them what they're not understanding and how they can make it easier. So even if you ask just 5, 6, 7 people, even if they're your closest friends, they will still give you the feedback you need to make that iteration and that improvement. Then what you do, once you've made that iteration, go back to them, say, now try it. Okay. Maybe they understand 80 to 90% of it now, but there's 10% where they still don't quite get it. Okay, now ask them, how do you improve that last 10%? So meaning, let's say I don't know, 2 or 3 fields at the bottom of the sign up page are still not clear to them, or why are you asking this information? Put little disclaimers, go back to them, say, now is it clear? Then, until you reach that point where that one person, you don't even have to talk to many people. You just want person to love your product or their use of it. Then you can go to person 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. So it's really about honing in on that one individual that is going to keep coming back to you and tell you how to improve it to the point where it's working. Because if it works for one person, then you can scale. If it doesn't work for that one person, you cannot scale, right? So
The
that's
difference, Justin, between an entrepreneur and a good investor. People think they can have the wrong assumption that the fact that you're a good entrepreneur and then you grow a company and you exit for a few millions, right? Like I said in this broadcast on Unstoppable, last week we did an interview with one entrepreneur, Ken, that he exits his business, one of the business that he acquired for 500 million, right? Now, the reason that you are an excellent entrepreneur, that doesn't really mean that you are a good investor. They are completely
Right.
different
Yeah.
spectrum. They are different knowledge, and could be more convenient for entrepreneurs, rather than learn, to become a new investor. Nothing wrong with this. Actually, I embrace that they should be learning about becoming a good investor. But again, it's a skill. The more you practice, the better you become. And I think the platform that you develop have bring an amazing solution that they can at the small scale
Yeah.
learn, the process, understand the returns, the cash flow. So, for example, some of the products you described, right? The hedge fund, they are amazing, but they have a very high barrier to entry. You have to put
Yes.
maybe 1 million, 10 million. There is where I
Sometimes
live.
more. Yeah.
Where I live
Yeah.
in London, an investment bank won't talk to you if you don't have minimum 15 million. They
Right.
won't even, they won't, they won't hello to you, right?
Right.
So, uh, tell us, those pros that they have low barrier to entry, they have this, they can have the same benefits in terms of return, in terms of cash
Yes.
flow. I'm a big fan of
Yeah.
cash flow approach.
Yeah.
You see that you invest and generate monthly cash flow because we need
Yes.
money every month anyway, just to buy, the supermarket, the food, and to pay the electricity and the rent, things like
Yeah.
this. So
Exactly.
how these products with the low barrier to entry are differentiated for the high barrier to entry in terms of return, cash flow,
Yeah.
at the same, how this is work.
That's a very good point that you're bringing up. That's exactly what the platform is about. So I tell you that the in terms of the performance, so obviously we just launched, meaning just within the last 2 months. So, but if you let's say with the current on the platform, if you started 3 years ago, meaning in the same existing options that were you, the performance would have been comparable or better to even the top performing PE funds and hedge funds. So think of that as between 30 and 40% annualized per year. So
Wow.
like yeah. So pretty high.
Wow.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
interesting.
So and it's actively managed, so meaning we have our own system on the back end where we are constantly, it's actually the only platform, I think, meaning I've seen even across Europe, whether it's Revolut or Robinhood or Wealthfront or any of these businesses that is actually doing this in an actively managed way. So that I think is like our differentiation point, because
Wow.
nobody's even tried to do that. The other thing I would say, you brought up a great point. Some people just want their sort of dividend income or their cash flow just to pay their utility bills, their rent, whatever, groceries, whatever the case may be. We also have options. So we have what we call longer term options, meaning if you want to make money over, a sustained multi-year period. And then we have shorter term options that will still get you moderate appreciation plus anywhere
Cash
between
flow.
6.5% to 9.5% dividend yields. If you go to Vanguard, Fidelity, maybe Barclays as well. I'm sure they're all the same. They're all giving you like 2, 3% at the most in terms of like the dividend yield. We're giving you 6.5 or 9.5% annualized, somewhere in that range, and with some moderate appreciation as well. So the yield you're getting here, and again, the platform is flat fee, you're actually keeping more of that money. And so like it's at higher dollar amounts in the thousands of dollars or pounds or at these higher levels, it becomes much more much more of a value proposition for the user. And so we're ultimately trying to do because we want people to use it and actually benefit from it. We're not interested in doing the typical private equity model that comes in and takes over the business, or the VC model where it's like the prices just get raised so substantially and ultimately you're losing the user base. We become more valuable the more people that use it, and actually more people that use the platform, it makes it cheaper. So if we have a large enough user base, we might not even charge a monthly
Oh,
fee at all.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
amazing.
that's
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's another thing, going back to the power of technology. That is something that again you can probably only do in a technological business. If you tried that in manufacturing, obviously you have upfront costs and you have things to pay for.
And you
It's
can
not going to happen.
scale. It's
Yeah,
very,
even in
very
real
easy to
estate, it's
scale.
not going to
Look at
because you
you,
have to
you
pay.
trying to penetrate India. Look at you. You just started the
Yeah,
other day, impressed. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
If you tap a small percentage of this market, my goodness, we're talking
yeah, yeah.
about
Yeah.
big
Because what
time.
the other thing I will say, we have also just this last week, we have 401ks and IRAs, at least in the US now too. So that is a $9 trillion asset class. And what we've noticed is every provider is the same in that industry and they do the exact same things and they have the exact
Mm-hmm.
same fees. We're giving
Mm-hmm.
you the flat fee for the IRAs and the 401ks too. So the way we're thinking about this is like an Amazon Prime, but for IRAs and for retirement accounts kind of a thing. So we just launched that, so we're getting that up and running now as well. Anybody?
Very, very low entry. Even people that have little money,
Yeah,
they can the risk because they can,
correct.
let's say they have 10K on 20,000, 50,000.
Yeah,
You can allocate the money in
that's right.
different vehicles, so you
Yeah,
diminish your risk from risk management.
exactly.
Is more healthy
Yes.
in my opinion. And also different vehicles. You
And
have
if
the cash
you,
flow, you have the capital appreciation, you have a mix of both.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you pick and
And if
choose.
you compare the sort of the expense, we're actually cheaper than an ETF. So we're cheaper than an ETF and we're giving you the higher performance. So, as long as you, and again, because anybody can start with small dollar amount, we know our model works. That's why we're able to do this and say, just throw in a few $100, see how it works, and then once you see that it's working for you, what we've noticed is all of our existing users have put in more money because they've seen it work so far. So yeah, that's
I wish you the best. I think the best. I think you're brilliant, and I'm probably double your age. Yeah, but I can tell that you're gonna do so well. Yeah, so I applaud you. Congratulations for what you're doing. Very proud of you to be so young. And so driven into what you're creating for people, especially India over there. They have a lot of population with very low income, so they
yeah.
can all have lower barrier to entry and a big market size. And sometimes I always ask to entrepreneur, who is your client? Or, no, I don't know. Well, you need to find who is your client and set the client. So probably could be so people from US that they don't have so high 401k, and India, well, there is a large population there. So if you can comply, I know these finance vehicles. Once I was in with my business partner, I'm telling you a long time ago, we applied for the first crowdfunding license, peer-to-peer lending. When become a thing there in UK, we were in the process of a license for that thing. And I remember the price, the lawyers did even the institution, the FSCA, Financial Conduct Authority, they were also on this, so they didn't know how to regulate this and what to do. So they didn't know, so they were going at a slower pace that we were doing, and then we are with the lawyers, with everything. Finally, the whole thing got granted, but the process was a little bit frustrating and took way longer than we were expecting in terms of money and licensing and everything. So, but once you are in the right track with the because we have to say that this is an industry that regulated, right? You cannot go
Yes,
out there and without knowing what you're doing.
correct, correct.
You need certain licenses and certain compliance depending on the country. And so, Justin, I wish you the best. I think you're brilliant, very clever, and you're gonna do so well on the space. Like I said, I have experience, and I know when I see talent, I can recognize it very quickly. I think probably this is my talent. Recognize people that are brilliant than me. I think you're one of them. So thank you so much for the broadcast, and for all of you following this broadcast. See you in our next episode. How brave entrepreneur like Justin break the wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.